Um, Good afternoon, all. Myself, Professor Meera Jubanputra. Welcome to the eighth session of Transcending Thursdays, dedicated to understanding design process from conception to execution, exploring the influence of technology, material, structural systems, services, and aspirations. Now, I would like to welcome our today's guest speaker, architect Siddharth Nayak, an alumnus of Goa College of Architecture. He has 20 years of experience in architecture, interior design, and project management. His vast experience in works of hospitality, commercial, realty, and private residence, combined with his exceptional enthusiasm, has earned him a prominent place in the fraternity. He is the principal architect of Ulysses based in Goa, which was founded with the sole intention of creating a platform where the best minds in the field from architecture, structures, MEP design, landscape, and interior design could come together to create, innovate, and transform bare ideas into landmark spaces. He has been part of many research and publication works and have received awards for his various projects. On this note, I would like to welcome our guest speaker, architect Siddharth Nayak, to take the session ahead. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mira. Uh, uh, is Harsh on the platform?
Yes, sir,
Yes.
I'm connected.
Yeah. Hi, Harsh.
Hello,
Professor
sir.
Harsh, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I also thank your college and your
Pleasure,
principal.
pleasure.
And it's a good opportunity. And I hope I will present a project, which is a boutique project. And I hope the students will be able to take a lot of inputs from this project. Now, this project basically, I will share the screen. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, I will put it. Okay. So now this project, what I'm going to talk about today and explain is a boutique place in Goa. So, as most of you all will be aware, Goa is on the western side, and we have Arabian Sea. And this project is not on the beach, but it's around 10 kilometers away from the beach. And there's a small difference between a boutique place and a conventional hotel. I'll just explain everyone this first. A boutique is a more personalized hotel. They usually have not more than 25 to 30 rooms, so the staff intake is less. Uh, the idea about a boutique has become very prevalent nowadays in all of India is that whenever you go on a holiday, you do not want to be in a crowded place. Normal hotels are happening places. There's a lot of shorego, there's a lot of happening things happening. There are 4 or 5 restaurants, but boutique is an antithesis to everything. Boutique is where you go to a place where you want to be in the calm, you want to quiet, you want to rejuvenate. And so boutique places are high in design content, and they are designed to see that you get exclusivity and you get a lot of privacy. So that is the new thing which has been coming up in the tourism sector. Boutiques are preferred by the people. So this project initially, when it came to us from a client, so the client were enterprising young boys, and they said that they have been to all over the world, and they thought that boutique would be the ideal place for the site. Now, this is how initially the site was. So they had an existing house. I'm going to give a brief of the architecture and go to interiors and services, so that uh, according to us, architecture and interiors is closely related. You cannot have one sort of architecture and have a completely different interiors in a project. So I will give a first initial brief of what happened in architecture and what were the concepts and how that concept helped in defining the project in interiors and the entire look and feel of the project. So when we were presented this site, so you had road on two sides, so the north and the south, and this was an existing house. And if you can see the plans and how the house looked. So it was a ground floor house. It's an old house. It was almost 100 years old house. And these are the images. So this is the first day when we visited the house. It was unused old Goan house, which we call a Goan colonial house. And there was a lot of growth. This is how the walls, so these are the details which came with the house. These are old houses. So if you see the roof line, you see the plaster details, you see the corbelling, the molding. So there was a lot of character to this house. These are the railing details. You have the paint mold, you have the seat over there, you have veranda, you have those columns. So this is what was the character of the house. Now, when we met the client's brief was very simple. He said, we have to keep the ethos of the old architecture. At the same time, it should be modern. All the modern amenities should be there. And it should be done in such a way that anyone who comes to stay in this place, he should know that, yes, I am in Goa. So there has to be subtle elements which says that it cannot be any other place but in Goa because of the architecture, which is of the house, of the entire area where it was based. So when we started with the concept, now any hotel design has to have separate entrances for the guests and separate entrance for the services. So the first thing what we started was we started segregating it, and we said, okay, we had to remodel the entire house. And because it was a house, and to model a house into a hotel is a different ballgame. So we said, okay, let's first thing is that we have the main entry, the parking, the drop-off point for the guests who come in. So that was taken on one side of the property. So we added a reception and a front office. Then, because we were adding a wing, we incorporated a central light court. So we said, okay, this could be a light court. This also would be the connecting passages overlooking to the light court. So we formed a court. We had the rooms, and we consciously decided. Again, the clients were a little bit into Vastu, so they said, let us have the pool or the water body as much as possible the north side. So we were able to get based on the brief, we bought the pool on the northern side, northwest. We tried to get as much possible. So we had a pool over there. And beyond this property, the muddy road, you have the forest. So if you were to have the rooms over here, you overlook into the pool and then you look into the forest areas. So the rooms were oriented in such a way that they overlook this back area. And then came the services. Now, services had to be in such a way that they do not intrude into your personal or private areas. So we had to carve in a service entry, and the service entry, the kitchens, the entire back of house had to be done in such a way that it gets connected to the restaurant lounge. And so this is how the first initial concept came, and saying that first is the concept in how the interlinkages of the various areas. So this was more like a bubble diagram, or you can say a interlinkage plan. So from here, we said, okay, this is how the roof pattern, the entire structure, how it can work. And I will just show you in detail the plan, how it worked out. So on the right hand side, where you see the lounge, restaurant, kitchen in one room, that was the old house. So we maintain it as it is. In between walls, we removed. So, and the L which is there, which is consisting of the rooms and the reception, was add-on structure. So you had the light court in the center. So you enter, somebody entered, you had the foyer, you had the reception, then you walked along the courtyard, you can go straight down to the. And so the Maravilla name, the location, everything, even the color of the logo, everything was decided, pre-decided. Because see, this is not a hotel which is already into existence. So everything had to be done the first time. So this is how it eventually turned up. So what you see on the right hand side is the old structure. In the left hand side, we did a new structure which was kept in sync with the old. And what you see, the first shot is the drop off point. So again, we had to look into landscaping, how the material selection had to be, because this is a vehicular entry. So you came over here. This is where the vehicle would turn. You would be dropped off, and then you enter the property. So landscaping also was part of the project. Interiors was part of the project. Services was part of the project. So this is the first shot. I will now take you along and show you the property how it is. Now the colors, the detailing, everything had to be now over here. Since we were doing interiors and architecture both, so it was not a separate concept, it was a continuation. Whatever we did for the exterior was a continuation in the interiors. This is how you see the property from the road. So you still see a ground floor structure, you do not see the back area. And this were the lawns which were developed, the driveway, everything. So even today, if you see the house and if you had seen it before, you the scale from the road, the entire the language, because there are more houses which have the similar look. So the language is the same whenever you look from the roadside. This is from the rear. This is where I was telling you where the pool is. So this is where we had the pool developed, and all the rooms are overlooking the pool except for two rooms which are the garden view rooms. So the idea was that okay, this is overlooking the pool, so the deck areas, the walls, the compound walls, even everything had to be re-detailed. Even if you see the railings, now the railings are again a copy. Yeah, I say copy because the old house came with the same railing. Now we wanted to change the material, so we have done it in MDF panels. So we have taken MDF panel and done laser cutting and then had the railing. So visually they're the same, but the material is different. This is another view from the garden, how the property looks. This is the entry. So this is another entry which leads you to your restaurant. So if you have a small function, then people can enter from this side. Now let us go to the interior design. I've explained to the exterior, how the interior design was evolved and what was the thought process behind the interiors. Now, when you look at a project like this, so which has got a lot of history, and the thing was that the brief was that when you are into this place, it should not be overly done, it should not be cluttered, it should use the local materials, and it should have the entire character which will say that yes, this is in Goa. So we had a lot of thought processes. We said okay, how do we do it? And if you remember a normal hotel, what would happen in a normal hotel is that once you open the door, the vestibule, you have on the left hand side, you will have the wardrobe, you will have the pantry, and on the right hand side, you have the toilet. Yeah. Now, because of our old house module, the way it was designed and how it was taken over, so when you enter the vestibule, we had just the toilet, and we had the pantry, and then you have the wardrobe which is tucked between the toilet and the pantry, and then you have the bed area. And because this is very much what happens in a hotel room, there's nothing uh, different what would happen, but then how to make it more interesting. And then every room would open out into a balcony. So we just did a first hand layout. We said okay, this is how the bed location should be, this is the TV, this is how you would have a small sofa, a coffee table, and a writing table. And we started developing on this, and then we said okay, what should be the materials, what should be the palette, and how it should be the look and feel, because a very important thing is the look and feel, and at the same time it has to be practical, because a lot of services are involved. Because if you look at the toilets were supposed to be a 3 point toilet. So you had the vanity counter, you have the shower. So we consciously decided not to have tub, because tub is a waste of water. And even when we were discussing with the client not to add a rain shower, because consumption of rain shower, the water in the rain shower is much higher than in a conventional shower. But then since it was a boutique, and the requirement was that it has to have some indulgences, so we had to again choose a rain shower which had a lesser flow than a bigger shower. So these are always the ups and downs which you have to face. And then you have the pot. So I will show you now how we started developing. So once we started developing, the would be in wood or what is the thing. So we said like, okay, let's do one thing. Let's do a headboard, which is the wall itself becomes the headboard. Okay, so we decided, okay, let's do a headboard and let's try to incorporate some niches and then try to do the finishes. And the flooring, I will come to the next images. So this is how we started developing it. And if you see about the vestibule area, there's a, you see, you have to have a air conditioning system. So usually what happens is that you either have a split AC where you see the fan coil unit on the inner side, or you have a concealed split. So all hotels, a good hotel, are supposed to have a concealed split. So we decided that we'll go with a VRV system. That's a variable refrigerant flow system, which is a package. So 3 or 4 rooms are used by the same machine, and it kickstarts based on your usage. And the good thing about this is that the power consumption is almost 40% lesser than a split unit. So then we had to see that, okay, the coil unit would have to fit over the vestibule. Vestibule is the area which you enter, the corridor. So that is where the AC had to be fitted. So we started working on this, and this is the first mock-up room which we came up with, and we said, okay, let's do this. And how did we arrive at this thing? So there are a lot of things which are happening over here. Uh, the first thing is that there are three elements or four elements in any room: the flooring, the ceiling, the wall treatment, and the furniture. So these are the four elements which are very crucial. And the fifth one, which is there, is the lighting. So when we were doing this, we said, okay, what about the flooring? We could have gone for ceramic tiles. We said no, but ceramic tiles is there's no character to it. And how do we do it? So eventually we said, okay, let's go back to history, and we realized that okay, in the 1920s, 1930s, you had the cement tiles. Yeah. So the cement tiles are basically terrazzo tiles or cement tiles, which you get in fantastic patterns. So what we did was we said, okay, let's form a carpet effect. Instead of having a carpet, let's have a carpet effect under the bed. So these are the tiles which we sourced, and these tiles, I'm not sure about other areas, but they are widely available even in Bombay, Bangalore, even in Goa. So this tiles, we chose this tile, and then we said, okay, the rest could be a gray or dark gray, so that this pattern which is around the bed is highlighted. And then we said, okay, as I told you that, okay, what about the headboard? So we said, okay, let's form the wall itself the headboard. So what we did was we did the cement plaster. So this is the polished cement. It is also called IPS. I'm not sure whether it's the same term which is used. So this is basically cement, and you have a marble dust, and you also add limestone, and it is polished to a great degree, which you get a very fine polish, and it almost starts becoming a little bit glossy. So this is the type of wall which we created. And then looking at the ceiling, now ceiling was, what do we do about the ceiling? So ceiling, we realized that okay, when you go to the olden houses, you had these wooden planks which form the ceiling, and we did not want to use wood. So we said, okay, what is a substitute for wood? And we found that okay, you could use cement board. So we cut the cement boards in strips of 4 inches, and we created this wooden pattern on the ceiling. And again, the furniture again, we said was that okay, we wanted to do it in wood, but we did not want to do it with polished wood. So we said, okay, let's experiment. And then we said, okay, let's do a distressed wood. So all this furniture was designed by us, uh, except for the couch which was ready-made and the chair which was ready-made. Rest everything is designed. And then we started going ahead with this. Okay, then we said, okay, let's do the furniture. Then came the curtains. What is the fabric for the curtains? How does it work? Translucent, so you have still light coming in. And then is a blackout. Blackout is the one, if you want to sleep, then you, in the daytime, then you directly cover it. So you see there are two layers of the curtains, and the curtain detailing also had to be done in such a way that you don't see the curtain rods, you do not see the track, because usually for this you require track. So ceiling had to be redesigned in such a way that the track is not seen and is hidden from the normal view. So this is how we started, and then when we reached a certain point, then we always have to remember that when you're doing a room, you have to look also as a lighting. Now, whatever lighting we try to source from the market, or all commercial lights, and which all repeated. So we said, okay, if you're doing something so customized, so the lights, whatever we went to the market and we were trying to figure it out, were not fitting into the entire concept. So we had to again reinvent the wheel, and we started looking at how the lights are basically paper mache lights with the body of wood. So that wood was again painted to match with the furniture, and these are paper mache. And then we said, okay, we always think that whenever you're doing in a particular area, so if you're doing some a project in Gujarat, then you should always have the local element, because if I come as a tourist, I would like to know more about that place. So the paper mache has got those patterns, and those are basically crochet work. Crochet work is the viewed pattern which you do. The crochet, I'm sure everyone's been knowing. So those crochet work was stuck onto the paper mache light, and that is how the light concepts came into. And you also have to remember is that artwork also is important. So we had to look at the art. When we were designing the door, we came up with saying that, okay, what do we how do we depict the door, or what should be the door be like. So there were two thought processes. We said, like, okay, it should represent Goa. When you think of Goa, it represent the waves. Okay, how do you symbolize waves on a door, and how difficult it will be. And then we came up and said, okay, the name of the hotel is Maravilla, M. So okay, waves and M. So we came up with a pattern. We saying, okay, let's do this M. So this waves, which is a zigzag pattern, so it represents waves as well as your name. But when we went on the on the inner side, we said, like, okay, now what happens is that on the interiors, if you try to do so many type of grooves, it's very difficult, because that is the area you'll be touching, and that will be having the maximum wear and tear. So consciously we decided, okay, let's not do anything over here. Let's leave it plain. But the plain also again had to be something interesting. So what we did was we took a wallpaper, and we said, okay, who says that wallpaper has to be used for the walls only? We said, okay, let's use it for a door. And the back of the door is the wallpaper. Now, wallpaper is basically very good in cleaning and things like that. And it gives you a different perspective, because when you look at from the inside, sometimes you do not even know that it's a door until you look at the lock. So this is how we went into doing the certain things. And the same texture which is for the headboard is the wall finish is taken to the vestibule area, because what happens is that vestibule area is a narrow passage. So whenever you get your bag, so you'll have a trolley or things like that, you tend to damage the edges of the wall. So you tend to scratch the walls. So the wall should have a finish which is hardy and which does not get easily uh, scratched. So that is the reason we have seen, if you see on the left hand side, it is the same cement plaster finish what we have got over there. And on the right hand side, we decided to do a paneling, so that we have a panel and we have a huge mirror, so that once you're out of the room or once you're out of the bathroom, so you have a big dressing mirror. And we had a louvered effect, so that we thought is that, okay, this is what will destroy the look of a long passage. It makes you feel that, okay, it's a cupboard, and it can open and there's something beyond. Now when we're designing these lures again, we had to take into account that, okay, there are not, so this lures is not a normal lure. This is lures in such a way that there's no hidden edges, so that the cleaning again becomes easier. And above this vestibule is the cutout for the air conditioning unit which sits on top. So this is how we came up with the first mock-up room, and it was very much acceptable. And we said, okay, the client said this is how it should be. And there are again two images. The left hand side is the pantry. So again, we created a niche next to the washroom, and this is where the pot sits and the glasses. And under this is the drawer where you have the consumables, like you have the cashew packets, or you have chocolates, and below that is the refrigerator. So this is the pantry. Now again, pantry, you have to remember is that that surface which you do has to be hardy surface, because there will be some water spillage or there will be watermarks, so that again we have to take care of. Again, the skirting, if you see the skirting, instead of having a 4-inch skirting, we had almost 1 foot skirting, because we realized that that is where it is susceptible to getting dirtier. And then you again, as a relief, we had a painting. This we were able to outsource it and get it over here. So this is the pantry area. The right hand side image is basically the vanity counter. That's the washroom. And again, instead of doing a conventional counter, we thought that okay, let's do it in wood. So that's a wooden table, and on top of which you have the tabletop wash basin. And this is again the lights. If you see the lights, again the lights are custom made. Again, the entire theme of the washroom was to go with something very rustic. And but over here, if you see, we have not used the cement tiles. The reason is that the cement tiles are softer, so they tend to absorb water. So over here we went and sourced ceramic tiles which had the similar pattern, the similar language, and then it would be easier to maintain. So that is how we arrived at the bathrooms. Now, when we did this, we realized is that okay, what happens in a normal hotel? If you go to room number 101 or you go to room number 105, all the rooms are identical. Over here, we had the same module, but we said that okay, if a guest stays in this room, the next time he stays in the second room, it's not the same. So every time is a different experience. So basically, every room is different. So if you see the patterns which change, the furniture styling changes, the furniture treatment changes, the soft furnishing changes. So every room is different when you look at it. And this is the other room where we again modified, and we said the theme was the same. We had the backdrop with cement, so the cement color would change. The light fixtures are similar, but same thought processes, but the profiles are different. The furniture over here, it is a distressed blue. So this is what we try to do, is that so it's one hotel but there are 14 different rooms. So this is a room again, because this was on the first floor, you had a higher ceiling, so the ceiling changed, the room outlook became more voluminous. So then how did we treat this? So the thought processes were similar, same tile, same material, but different patterns. So over here, this is which is known as the blue room. And this is again a garden room, which in which we try to work it out by getting the bed in the center of the room, and then you have the writing table at the back. So again, the room configurations are different, but the thought processes are similar. So this is what is the garden room, so which became a green room. Uh, this room is the only room which is housed into the original house. So in the original house, there was one area which we got as a big space, and we said, okay, why not convert it into a room? So this is the biggest room, the most spacious room, because it is directly in relation to the layout what the house had. So again, if you see the treatment, the language is the same, but there is no repetition. The flooring changes, the furniture. This is the only room which is having the entire furniture which is polished in walnut. Uh, and again the lights, the treatment, everything it goes in the same thought process. Now let me come outside and show you the treatment of the passages. Now see, you if you recollect the how the plan was, that you had a central court, the light court. So at the right, at the extremity in the left hand side, you see that small sculpture. So we had a sculpture at the entrance lobby. So that is where you enter and you walk along this courtyard, along the side, and you see the courtyard in the center. Now again, there was a conscious decision that there has to be a very practical courtyard, very easy to maintain and very simple courtyard. So even the roofing over here is not a concrete roof, it's a steel roof. So the rafters, the roof, the tiles are part of the entire theme of the interior. So there's nothing special done over here. You just take the material as it is and you reconnect or recollect with how a olden house would be there. The only thing that we added were the lights. Again, these lights were designed to make you aware of flowers. Now, I'll just go back. This project is based in Asagaon. Asagaon is the name of the village, and Asagaon means a village of flowers. So we said, okay, so this is what you know about this village. So this village has got a lot of flowers, and this village has been named as a village of flowers. So why not have a lot of thought processes which go with the flowers? So all along the corridor, whatever lights you see, they are made to represent flowers. So this is what was designed. Even if you see on the wall of the courtyard, there's a sculpture over there. So this sculpture also was part of the detailing where we said, okay, that would be like a the flower and the it's like a I do not know whether you're aware of a cotton pod. Yeah, so when a cotton pod ripes, it leaves the fragments out, and that is what was to represent this area. And in this courtyard, we have a beautiful bohemia tree, and today it is already flowering. So the entire thought was that in this area you feel very one with nature. It represents the flowers and things like that. So this is a courtyard. Again, the material of the flooring was had to be hardy because it is open to the elements. The water would come in during the monsoon, so it had to be non-slippery. So this is how the treatment of the corridors was. So nothing overdone. Only the highlight with the pillars. Now, if you remember these pillars were the same what came with the house. So what we did was we made new pillars which looked exactly how the old pillars were. Now these are none of these pillars are actual old pillars but redone pillars. Then you have the other pause point. So just before the staircase, we had this area where it was a pause point. So we said, okay, let's change the language of the tile. So just change the tile, introduce a pattern. Nothing fancy of the false ceiling. Just play with the colors. Just have some artifacts. Now on the right hand side, which you see, it's an installation. It's an artifact in the corridor on the first floor, and this entire installation is 15 feet in length and almost 7-8 feet in width. Now this installation is nothing but baskets. So these were the local baskets, which are bamboo baskets. So we had an artist commission, and then the entire corridor, instead of making a panel or instead of making something else, we said, okay, let's highlight the traditional artisans' work. And these are baskets which, and if you see the blue color in the face of it, these are again the crochet work. The crochet work. So we took the blue crochet and had some of the baskets covered with it, and this became a installation. So when you're walking down the corridor, it's a dynamic sculpture which was done. So we appointed an artist to do this. And again, when you came on top on the first floor, so this is the staircase. Again, the railings of the staircase are in wood. So, and the pattern, if you see the similarities between the wooden railing over there and then the balcony. So these are again copies of the original house. The original house had great railings. So we on the right hand side is MDF. So we have taken MDF sheets and we have done laser cutting and got the uh, same pattern or same image which was there for the old house. And on the interiors we have done it in wood. So the same thing is done in wood. Now what we did over here is that whenever you came on top on the staircase, you reach a pause point. On the staircase we wanted to make something very dramatic. So we said, okay, what do we do? So the idea was to buy a chandelier, a crystal chandelier from the market or things like that, but then it would not go with the entire theme. So we said, okay, let's rework. And then we realized that, oh, what are we doing? We are doing for the external areas flower patterns. So if you see in the balcony, that light again, it's a representation of a flower. In the corridor, it's a flower. So we said, okay, let's do one thing. Let's do drooping flowers. And we spoke to the light artist, and they said, okay, let's come up with something. And then the artist came with the light fixture. So these light fixtures of various sizes, and they are hung at various heights. So the top body is of fiberglass, which is a glossy white, a brilliantly white, and then on the bottom it's in copper. So you have this pattern, and inside is a light. So when this is lit, this light can be seen from the road, from the main road. And at the same time, when you are in the pool side, again you see this light. So this becomes like a feature. And then whenever you're going up and down the staircase, so what I'm trying to say is that you don't have to do elaborate false ceilings, or you don't have to do anything. You just have to know how to control your spaces. So once these lights are there, whenever you're walking up this staircase, the first attention goes on to these lights. And so this, it's again, this lights itself has become as a installation as well as a feature. Now coming to the restaurant. Now if you go to any property, the restaurant is a restaurant, or the lobby is a showstopper. Any hotel you go, they spend fantastic amounts of money, the different type of materials, and they say, okay, this is the highlight, and then the rooms are all the same. Yeah, then you go to any room, the corridor is the same. So we said over here is that we are not trying to impress anyone over here. Yeah, so we are not trying to impress anyone saying that, oh, look at a lobby, look at a restaurant. We said that, okay, let's be very sensible in what we do. And then this is part of the old house. What you see over here is the old house. And in this old house, there were walls in between. These were two different rooms. So we removed the central wall, and then we made this long space. We got a long space. On the left hand side, you have the corridor, and which opens out into the central light court. So we said, okay, let's do one thing. So what we did was, there were smaller windows. We broke open the windows and made this huge glass windows, so that you have a lot of light coming in. And because this is only a 14-room boutique place, so there at any given time, there would be not more than 30 guests, and you never have all 30 guests coming in at the same time. So we said, okay, let's start working on this space, which would be a restaurant. So this is the main dining. So this is where the breakfast happens. And we said, okay, let's work out with the again pattern. How do we work out the floor? So floor, again we said, okay, the wave pattern. So what we have done for the door, what is the symbolism for Maravilla M? We said, okay, let's start with that pattern for the floor. So we worked that pattern for the floor. So here we said, let it be little vibrant. So we made this pattern in the same cement tiles. And then the furniture, we said, okay, let's keep it distressed wood. And then you have a brown. So the furniture is very dark. You have the ceiling. Now what we decided was, if you see the ceiling, we still have the steel roof. So you have the steel members. So we decided to paint it entirely black. And the central portion, we said, okay, let's do installation in lights. And we had a panel. We had a 8 feet by the entire length of ply panel. And then we said, okay, let's represent this with Asaga. So what we did was, we went and sourced a wallpaper which had the petals, rose petals. So the entire false ceiling, the central portion, we had it in the wallpaper. And to some people, it was very shocking. Oh, like how can you have petals on the ceiling? And we said, why not? Why not? And then we said, okay, now let's look at the lighting. So what we did was, we had the chandeliers made. These are all in wood, and this is like a conventional chandelier, but this is a thought process which we went further, and we said, okay, let them look like they look like paper chandeliers. And we had almost 20 chandeliers which were hung, different type of chandeliers. They look very delicate, and they were hung from that false ceiling, and with lights and at different heights. And when you sit over here, what happens is that it looks very magical. It looks as if you're sitting under a canopy where you have lot of flowers, and you have veins coming down. And that is what we thought. We thought is, let us make it very relaxed. Let us make it very high in content, because what you would be doing over here, you're spending 10-15 minutes, and it should be a very relaxed restaurant. So this is how the restaurant was. Now, this is with respect to the interior, but always remember a restaurant, because this restaurant is a buffet. So it basically caters to the breakfast. So we had to create a buffet counter. So what you see on the right hand side next to the wall, those are counters, a buffet counter. So where the buffet is laid during the breakfast. And right at the end are the two doors. So those doors, one is for entry and one is exit. So that leads to the staff area, and that leads to the kitchen. So we had to plan into those things. We also, if you see the wall on top, you have the AC vents. So all the ACs are concealed ACs, and you just have the vent over there. Now AC you cannot only have the air conditioning, you also have to have a fresh air return. So you have to pump in fresh air, which is the treated fresh air, and then that fresh air also is taken out, so you do not feel staleness to the room. So this is the type, and in a restaurant it has to work very well because there are so many aromas. You cannot have too many aromas lingering over there. Every time you come to the restaurant, you should feel fresh. So a lot of thought had to be given to this aspect. This is the other side. So if you see through those doors, that was the breakfast area, and this was a lounge. So if you had a party, so this also could be set up as a lounge. Again, it's very basic. So we did not want to have any major paneling or anything. So we just had two doors. So those two windows which you see are from the original house. So we got those two windows, we kept them, and those windows are made from mother of pearl. So we just cleaned them up. We have not painted, touched them up, whatever. And we said, okay, let it be part of the interior theme. Again, over here, the ceiling is painted black, and you have these lights, what the chandeliers. So over here, you have another 10 lights which are dropping just to cut down the scale of the entire space. Again, this is again another dining area which opens on the front side. So this is basically what was the thing. And as I told you about the reception, again the reception was a very practical made to reception, because this hotel is not trying to sell itself based on on the reception. This hotel is selling itself based on the entire experience that you gain from the moment you enter this property, to the drop off, to the way you enter your room, to the breakfast area. So reception really was a very basic reception over here. And so there's nothing much. We said, okay, let's keep it very simple. Let's not spend money over here. So you had sitting on the left hand side, that's where the receptionist would sit. And behind, you see the door behind is actually the office. So there's the accounts office over there. And again, air conditioning is taken care. The ceiling of the office is where the units are sitting. So that's how you see those grills. So again, it's a very light, breezy reception area, nothing overdone, kept it with the same theme. Let me now take you to the services. Now, how does a hotel like this work, and how is the services planned? Now, if you see the ground floor over here, the most important part is how you take the air conditioning. Air conditioning plays a very big role. So over here, if you see the room, if you take the room, as I told you, in the vestibule area, that is where the compressor, that is where the fan coil unit is fitted. And so that is where you also have, when you're designing, you have to remember, okay, is it sufficient enough, wide enough for the fan coil unit to fit, because that's where the trap door is. Because once you open the trap door from the ceiling, you can access it, you can maintain it. So whenever you're designing, you have to keep into mind this. And again, if you look at the toilet will have an exhaust system. So what happens is that toilets have to have an exhaust which has to work. So every toilet, over the shower and over the pot, there are two exhaust points. They are in the ceiling. So when you're designing a ceiling, you also have to see that, okay, how will that exhaust travel? How will those ducting happen? Rooms also have a fresh air. So in the room, what happens is the AC. What the AC does is it just cools your room. But when you have a fresh air system, it pumps in the fresh air, so it removes the stillness out of the room. So that is how you have to always keep into mind, because based on that, you will have your upholstery which will not start smelling, or it will not give you that damp. Because again, remember, this is in Goa. In Goa, we have monsoons from June to October, and the humidity levels are very high. And during this time, you generally tend to have sweating. Sweating is where you get condensation on the walls because of the temperature controls. So you have to look into this, because if you get condensation on the walls, and if your walls are not of the right material, then you'll have all sorts of problems. The paint will start peeling off, your curtains will start smelling, or you'll have mildew formation. So you have to remember, whenever you choose the materials, which is the climate, what are you dealing with. So again, whenever you have the air conditioning system, the entire piping and routing will pass through the ceiling. So you have to keep in mind, okay, what are the routes and how does it travel. So if you see again, if you see the restaurant area, see how we have placed it. We have taken it on the kitchen side. We had some areas where we could fit in because we were getting a double height, so we were able to put a false ceiling and take the units on top. So you do not see any. If you see the entire project, you have not seen even one AC unit anywhere because they're all concealed. So this type of things have to be kept into mind. Again, plumbing. Plumbing is a very crucial thing when you look into plumbing, because it is not only interiors but entire property, how it will behave once it is being used or abused, because you do not have control over a person how he uses it. So you have to have places how you can service that. So if you have a plumbing, then we have shaft over here. In this property we have shafts, but if you see in the corridors you will not see any shaft, because again those shafts are all treated to make it look at part of the design language. uh, all the units are sitting on the terrace. So what we have done is we have taken everything. You have the VRV system, you have the exhaust for the kitchens, you have the fresh air, the exhaust for the toilets. Everything is sitting on the terrace or the roof of the. So what we are designed when we are designing this hotel, we saw that there were certain flat areas on the roof, so where these units could be fitted. Again, geysers. If you realize there are no geysers, and we decided that geyser, there are two ways. Either you'll have a geyser in the washroom, or you can put it in the shaft, or you can have a geyser on top. But geysers are not they're not energy efficient. Geysers are the worst things that can happen. We thought of using a solar over here, but then because there were a lot of trees and shades, we were not able to go with the solar. So what we have done over here is we have put heat pumps. Heat pumps are nothing but a reverse of an air conditioning system. Air conditioning system gives you cold air, and the hot air is generated the compressor. Heat pump is the opposite. It gives you hot water, and the compressor starts giving you the cold air. So it's the reverse of a compressor. So this is how the services had to be taken on top. uh, I will just explain to you what happens in a hotel. See, whatever I have explained to you now is the public areas and the guest areas. Now, a hotel also requires a back of house. Now, in this, when we were designing, we had to see that if you remember the first slide, I told you that the service areas are always important. So the all the service areas were on the right hand side. So a vehicle was able to come to the service area. See, a vehicle has to come for two things. One is to deliver, and the other is to take. What they deliver is that they will be delivering is the wet garbage, dry garbage. You have laundry, because we do not have a in-house laundry over here. So it is outsourced. So the vehicle comes to take the laundry. Again, staff enter, do not enter from the guest areas, but staff always enter from the staff area. So you have the staff entry on the right hand side. This is where everything happens. Now, because this is a boutique hotel, you have very small kitchen store areas. But if it was a bigger hotel, see, for example, we have only one restaurant and this is catering to only 30 people. But if you imagine, if you have to do a five-star which is like 100 rooms, so you'll be looking at around 200 people, you'll be looking to 40 to 50 staff. So the dynamics completely change. In that case, you will be having almost 30 to 40% reserved only for these areas in the entire hotel. Now, because this was boutique, what happens is that whether it's a boutique or any place, you have a receiving area. So whatever comes is received over there. Billing is done. At the same time, if you have vegetables, you have a receiving area, you have a small wash basin, it is washed over there and then taken inside. So that is what you see in the receiving area. So anything which comes into that area. Now, a kitchen, let us talk about the kitchen. The kitchen will always have a butchery. Now, because it's a non-veg area, so butchery is where you have a meat cutting section and a fish cutting section. Okay, so because there are sensibilities where people do not eat, say, beef. People do not eat pork, but certain areas, if you are serving that, then those areas are separate. So in butchery, the air conditioned area and very hygienically placed. So all cutting happens over here. Then you have the vegetable cut. So vegetable section is separate. So next to butchery is actually the veg cutting area. So that happens over there. And then it goes to the main kitchen. So I will show you the picture of the main kitchen. So this is where the entire cooking happened. And in the corridors, we had a linen stores, we had other stores, whatever were possible. We tried to use the passage corridor because this is a private corridor. And if you see the doors of the restaurant doors, one is for in and one is out. So this is for the service. So whenever you have a service, you have one in and out so that you don't clash and you don't spill the dishes. So again, the same thing happens for the kitchen door also. You have the two doors system. Then you have the kitchen stores, you have the linen stores. Because it's a small hotel, it can be compact like this. Outside this area, we also have, which is not shown over here, we have the staff change room, staff toilet, and we also have the staff dining and the staff kitchen. So that again is a separate area because your staff cannot be having the same cooked stuff which is cooked in this kitchen. So staff cooking and staff dining areas are always segregated. I've missed out one more thing is that this place also has a separate lobby toilets. Now, lobby toilets are also a very integral part because somebody from the restaurant should be able to enter and use the toilets or at the same time the lobby. So you have a his and hers. At the same time, you have a handicapped toilet also. So this is what how a kitchen. I will show you the images how the kitchen works. Now see this is how a kitchen is. It is entirely tiled, floor to floor, and you also have to have a ceiling so that you do not have any creepy crawlies or you don't. So it's completely hygienic. So these are the various equipment. You see a small washing machine is there in the property. Now this washing machine is not for the laundry for the guest. This is for your hand towels. What happens in the restaurant? So you have the table napkins, and those do not go in the laundry, so they are washed in house. So see, this is basically how the receiving area is that. So whenever you get, they are washed over here and then taken to the store. Nothing is taken to the store directly. So this is the receiving area cleaning. This is how is the kitchen. So these are the stacks, these are the racks where all the bowls, the plates. See, whenever things like this happen, so this is where the stacking of the plates and the cutlery happens, and the serving bowls, plates over here. The other areas are the burners. Now if you see, above it is the hood, so that is where the exhaust is. Now this exhaust system is works in two ways. Now there is one exhaust which sucks out all the fumes or the gases which are there. At the same time, this exhaust also has a point of fresh air. Now, if a person is cooking or the chef is cooking over there, the exhaust takes a pulls out the hot air. But there's also points where it gives a draft of air so that it cools him. So you also have to have a ventilation system, treated fresh air, which is pumped into the kitchen so that it is convenient for the staff to work. Again, if you see the floor is a hardy material. Usually we use a tandoor or kota because it's very hardy and it can be cleaned easily. In the floor, if you see, there are traps or drains. So while cooking, whatever spills over there, the kitchen is washed, it goes into the drain and then it goes directly out. So every day the kitchen is washed. After the first session, the breakfast is done, kitchen is washed or things like that. So hygiene is absolutely important. See, this is how the stores are. What you see on the left hand side, again, grinders. So you see, everything is cooked with a grinder. Now, if you see, there's an exhaust, there's a ceiling, everything has to be 100% hygienic. So grinders, this is where the masalas are grinding happens. You see on the right hand side, these are the stores. These are the liquor stores. Usually the liquor store has to be separate. Then this is basically for the stores. This is how the stacking happens, and there's a person who sits over there and who keeps a record of what is over, what is given out. So there's a person who usually keeps a record also. So this is how everything is stacked, everything is numbered, everything has to be in a sequence. So this is how this is in a smaller scale, but you can imagine if it's a bigger scale, this becomes 100 times or 10 times more complex. So basically, uh, so basically, this is what and this is how place works. I think I'm done from my side. If you all have any questions, you all are free to ask me.
Uh, Thank you, sir. Now I would like to open the session for question answer round. Students may please raise their questions. We have also received some of the questions, sir, from the
Yeah,
students. So I
yeah,
would like to ask you on the behalf of students.
yeah, no problem.
So first question is, how do you tackle the client's pressure of doing something different or unique with design and aesthetics?
That's a very good question. See, any project, what is important is the brief from the client. Without a proper brief, you are handicapped. Now, what happens is that you have to fight. I'll explain to you. See, it's not a cakewalk. I've been explaining to you as if it happened without any glitches. But there were places where, for example, the lights. Okay, I'll give you an example. Now the client said is that, Siddharth, you are going to get a designer to design lights which will suit your interiors. What is the cost implication? What is the time implication? So a light what we got made cost us around 3,000 rupees. The same light, not same light, but a light which was a compromise was available in the market for 1,000 rupees. So the client was not happy about it. But then we had to tell the client is that if you start compromising on one thing or another thing, you are diluting the entire thing. So what happens is that many a times you have to put your foot down, and yeah, of course you have to be reasonable. Now, for example, if the light was to cost 10,000 rupees, the client would have never listened to us. But you have to put your foot down and say and explain to the client that look at the total picture. What are we trying to do? We are trying to create a story, and every part is important. So what happens is that it has taken me around 20 years to know how much pressure to exert on a client, on what is the way and how you convince a client. But students, please understand, your convincing has to be good, and it has to be logical. And you should start convincing not after you start practicing, but even during your design vivas, you have to have a pro saying that, okay, I believe in it. You should tell your jurors that I believe in something, and you have to be able to convince them. If you are able to convince them during the college level, your life becomes easier. I think that is how it starts.
Okay, sir. There's another question. So, before the design has been manifested, how do you communicate about ambience and space quality to clients to convince them?
Okay. Now, what there are two ways of doing this. Now, the first way is what we do is a mood board. Okay, I have not shown you. So it's like exercise. What you do is the first concept drawing, you'll be drawing a sketch, and you'll be going on the net, or you'll be going sourcing the books, and you're saying, okay, this is the type of mood I'm going to create. So you're going to take pictures or images, and you're going to tell them that, okay, this is what it is I'm talking about. These are the colors. This is the look and feel. Yeah. So this is the first step of a mood board. Once the client agrees to a mood board, because how do you explain in words where the client has to see visually? What you are visualizing cannot be explained in words. So what has to be done is you have to get images and say like, okay, this, for example, if you are trying to show a color, right, you are going to say, okay, I want something to do with, say, mustard. Yeah, mustard with a tinge of green. How can you explain it? My perception of that and a client's perception different. So what you have to do is you have to source those colors or those images and say, okay, so this is what I'm trying to look at. This is the type of look and feel. The next stage after this is that you have to start developing SketchUp models or 3D images. So then it progresses. So the client has got a brief saying that, okay, this is what my designer wants to do. And the next stage is saying that, okay, now this is your space and this is what I was talking about. So it's a two-stage process. And the third stage is very important, is a mock-up. So whatever you say has, see, until unless you walk into a space, you cannot get the gist of it or you cannot feel it. Yeah, whatever I've shown you today, the images or whatever spoke about in this project, if you someday come to this project and you walk in, you will say yes, oh, this is, because you perceive in a different way. Every person perceives different way. So there are three stages. The first stage is a mood board. Second stage is a rendered 3Ds or SketchUp models or things like that. And third is a mock-up. So these are three stages, because anything and everything what you say has to transpire in your mock-up. If it doesn't, that means something is wrong. So you still have a chance to do corrections. Yeah, Mira.
Yes, there's another question. How do you integrate various layers of design, namely structure, services, and aesthetics, and bind them into a singular language?
Uh, it's a good question, but I would like to tell the students is that whenever you design is always a composite process. Whenever you design, you suppose you are doing interiors, simultaneously all three things happen in your mind: the layouts, the interior, the look and feel, the structures and the services, everything. You see, even today I need to sketch. I sketch, and then I go, because computer is just a tool. I sketch, and in the sketch there are layers. I say, okay, this is where the structure would come in. Okay, so this is the problem. This is what will happen if I do an interior. Okay, this is what I have in mind. How do you design? You design is that you have a image which forms in your mind saying that, okay, this is how my entire creation should look. But you have to start testing your creation by going one step back. You're saying, okay, I'll go back and see, will it suffice with the structures? Will it suffice with the layering which I do? Will it suffice with the services? So before you finalize, you have to take one step back and say, okay, now let me look with respect to structures. So design happens simultaneously at all levels. It cannot be said that, okay, I'm just doing the interiors, though I thought of this first and then I did that. No, it works at multiple levels.
Sir, we have another question in our chat box. So it
Yeah.
is from Tanmay. It was a very nice and detailed presentation. My question is that while doing such a kind of project in which you have to respond to a bygone era building and architecture, which you have done very amazingly, I want to ask that how did you manage to get the same quality of the craftsmanship, and were there any challenges in the construction of those detailed cornice, column, etc.?
My friend, huge challenges. This project, which was supposed to get over in 2 years, took 3.5 years, because, for example, uh, the each and everything had to be sourced. Each and everything had to be sourced, and it was sometimes so painful. Is that we had to do a sampling. We had to do a sampling for each and everything, because sometimes we got an artisan who could do it, but he was not up to the mark. So we had to again source another artisan, and the I can say I was lucky, because I could put across to my client from day one that if we are doing a boutique, then it has to be high in details, it has to be high in sensory values and characters. And we said that if you are going to do something normal, then what is the point? And that itself was a good thing, that they agreed to what I said. Because if they were not to agree, see, you would have been able to see that halfway down the line they would have said, no, this is not happening, we cannot wait any longer. But this challenges makes what the project is. So you have to be firm in your determination, and you should be lucky to get a client who agrees to you from day one, and who walks along with you. See, your project is your project, not 100%. Your client is equally responsible for your project to turn good or bad, because end of the day he controls the purse. Yeah, the money is controlled by him. So I'll give a small example. We had to do that wall. Yeah, so usually that wall treatment is done for the floors. All over the places we do the cement floors. So when we told the artisan, we said we want to do it for the wall, and the best part is that we said that I do not want any cracking. What happens, cement tends to crack, and we said if it cracks then it will lose the entire character of what we're trying to do. So we had to source the artisan all the way from Bombay, because this person was working in a factory where they do the cement tiles. So this artisan was there. So he was around 60 years old. And then when he came down over here, we told them to do sampling. And we had to test the sample, whether it cracks or not. So we had to wait for almost 2, 3 months. And we had to keep it soaked in water. Then we had to put halogen lights to heat it up and see what would be the effect of it. So it's always a challenge. A project like this is never easy, and it's challenging. So you have to be prepared. If you want something, then you have to be prepared for it.
Yes, sir, very true. Uh, Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to request Professor Sanjay Pitroda for the vote of thanks.
Hello, am I audible? Sorry, I'm little away. Siddharji. Hello, sir.
Yes, Sanjay.
Yeah. Just let me make visible because of the mask. Yeah, seriously, Siddharji, it was very interesting journey. You won't believe I really felt I'm in Goa. See, like somebody told me that the journey is important than the destination. Like you explained the design process. ठीक है कि the way you have executed the process, and I can really feel the conversation happening in your mind, or with the client it could have been. You have never let go your mood board or the design to be achieved, right, Siddharji? Am I correct? Hello.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this student must understand from this experience of yours. Okay, it's a continuous process. I may say with the other example also, to reach on the top of the Himalaya is not important. I can get it done through the helicopter also, but that is not the achievement. But to climb on the mountain with the obstacles, with all those things to be achieved, so little step-by-step achievements really makes the project or the goals to achieve. I seriously appreciate Siddharji. It has been a very good experience for us also to be with you. Thank you so
Thank
much. Thank you from the
you.
behalf of the team, Harsh and the अपने madam. ठीक है. So और maybe IT का team भी is equally this thing. ठीक है ना. So I really thank you to the vote of thanks from the APID family. ठीक है ना.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
yeah,
And
Harsh.
it will be a pleasure to see you all in Goa once the pandemic is over. Whenever you'll come down to Goa, we'll definitely meet, and I can take you to this property and other properties also.
Definitely, sir. Thank you.
You,
Uh,
you.
I would like to
Request
request
all
all
the
the participants for filling up the feedback form and the given in the given link, so we can issue the certificates for the same. Yeah, thank you all. We'll see you on next Transcending Thursdays.